I am a marine biologist, and I am not supposed to be telling you any of this. The last message I received from my employer said to destroy every file, every recording, every trace of what happened out there. But I can't. I can still hear the sounds at night. It started as routine research, deep-sea trench mapping off the Pacific Ridge. The company funding us claimed it was geological, but the readings didn't add up. The sonar was showing depth that shouldn't exist, movements that didn't match any tectonic pattern, like something was rearranging the seabed itself. They said we'd be observing a natural formation process. That was a lie. I kept thinking of how absurd that phrase was. Natural formation when the readouts looked like blueprints. I remember leaning over the sonar monitor, watching symmetrical lines emerge, vanishing, then reappearing miles apart. Structures don't occur like that under the ocean, not unless something is building them. I should have walked away then, but curiosity is the first stage of madness for people like me. I kept listening to the pings, each one echoing through the speakers like a distant heartbeat. Sometimes the pattern slowed down, sometimes it almost seemed to pulse with our own rhythm. One night, I caught myself unconsciously syncing my breathing to it. It was the first sign that whatever was beneath us was just alive. It was aware. On the third day, we lowered an ROV to investigate. It was a small, autonomous drone weed, nicknamed Minnow. I remember watching its light fade as it descended into the dark, the camera feed trembling with static. The ocean swallowed everything faster than usual, light bending into a color that didn't seem real. Not blue, not black, something heavier. Minnow's descent data showed strange pressure fluctuations, like the water density was shifting around it. Pockets of mass moving in unpredictable waves. When the feed stabilized, I saw what looked like a flat seabed. Smooth. Too smooth, as if the ground had been melted and reformed. Then something flickered in the corner, a metallic reflection, long and narrow. Minnow turned its camera, and I saw it clearly. A structure the size of a stadium, half buried, covered in algae and coral growth. It wasn't rock. It had straight edges, geometric openings, and a faint red glow pulsing deep within. We thought it was some abandoned research platform or submarine wreck, but when we compared coordinates, no known structure existed there. As Minnow got closer, the sonar feed went wild, echoes folding back on themselves, like the water was distorting sound. Then came the knock. 1, 2, 3. From the inside of Minnow's metal hull, we froze. The sound wasn't external. The sensors showed it came from within. The pilot tried to reverse thrusters, but the feed glitched. Static filled the screen. A shadow crossed the lens, human-shaped, but elongated, fingers too long, skin reflective, like wet steel. And then silence. The last frame before the feed died showed the ROV drifting into an opening, red light swallowing it whole. The cable burned out on retrieval. The insulation melted. When we examined the fragments, the edges were smooth, like glass scorched by lightning. That night, the ocean sounded different. The waves hit the hull in threes. Knock, pause, knock, pause. Perfectly timed. Someone joked. It was just coincidence. No one laughed. By the fifth night, none of us were sleeping. Dr. Haynes, our lead, became obsessed. He kept replaying the raw footage, zooming into every pixel. He said he saw movement in the background, something constructing itself, he whispered. When Primera looked, I saw nothing, but the more he slowed the footage, the more the shadows seemed to shift. The sonar started picking up more defined shapes. Towers, bridges, corridors, all beneath the seafloor. The data suggested it was expanding, as if tunnels were being dug outward from a central chamber. I started dreaming of the sounds, the rhythmic hammering in the distance, like machinery echoing underwater. Sometimes I'd wake to find my fingers tapping that same pattern against the metal walls of the cabin without realizing it. The others began hearing it too, always from below the floor, as if something massive moved right under us. We contacted command, told them the readings made no sense, but they dismissed it as sensor interference. Haynes decided to dive himself. Isaidi had to see the builder. We tried to stop him, but obsession had already replaced reason. He descended in the main submersible, the Calypso, tethered to us by a thick fiber optic line. For the first 20 minutes, his voice was steady. He described ridges and patterns, said it looked like bone fused with metal. Then his tone changed. "It's moving," he said. "It's not a structure. It's alive. It's breathing." The cums began picking up a low-frequency hum, almost like a chant. Haynes started muttering numbers, sequences, repeating them over and over until it became gibberish. Then we heard something else faint, high-pitched, layered over his voice. Laughter. Not adult laughter. Children's laughter. We called his name. He didn't respond. Just static. Then a voice came through. Not as "don't look down." The line went dead. When we pulled the cable back, the sub was gone. Only a fragment of the hull remained, polished like obsidian, the cockpit glass fused from heat that should have been impossible at that depth. The next morning, everything began to change. The sonar map showed new terrain, trenches appearing overnight, the shapes underneath forming symmetrical clusters. The ocean floor was building itself, and it was spreading. The sound of hammering grew louder each hour, until we could feel vibrations through the deck, subtle but constant, like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. Birds stopped circling above. Even the water temperature shifted. Cold one moment, boiling the next. I walked out onto the deck around midnight, and the sea was glowing faintly red beneath the surface. Not like algae, like something pulsing from deep below. I thought I saw shadows moving under the waves, tall, vertical, like spires reaching upward. Then primera notice. The glow was matching my heartbeat. Primera va, ketawai. Inside the control room, the others were whispering in panic. One of the technicians claimed he heard voices through the sonar speakers, his own name being called from the deep. When I pressed my ear to the wall, I heard it too. Faint whispers, all saying the same word. Ober and Oberbild. The comms picked up a signal we couldn't trace. It came from thousands of meters below, repeating the same pattern Minnow had last transmitted. The captain ordered evacuation at sunrise, but sunrise never came. The sky stayed gray, the air heavy with salt and static, like the entire sea was charged with electricity. The last thing we saw before abandoning the vessel was a series of massive shapes rising from the deep. Cylindrical towers made of coral, bone, and metal fused together, moving in unison, as if following blueprints only they could understand. The sound was deafening. Not mechanical, organic, rhythmic, intelligent. Something ancient was assembling itself down there, piece by piece, and it had been waiting for someone to notice. I'm telling you this from a small apartment, far from any coastline. I haven't gone near the ocean in months, but it follows me anyway. My phone keeps receiving untraceable audio files, faint recordings of the same hammering, the same heartbeat I heard beneath the waves. Sometimes, I dream I'm underwater again, standing on the seabed, surrounded by walls of metal and flesh. In those dreams, I see Haynes floating ahead of me, eyes open, mouth moving. He is whispering something I can quite hear until I wake up, and then it echoes in my head for hours. It is still building. The last file I received wasn't sound. It was an image coordinates, new ones, thousands of miles from the original site. When I checked the depth chart, it showed no trench there before. But now, there's a new reading. A growing void, the same symmetrical patterns, the same heartbeat. Sometimes I catch myself humming that rhythm without realizing it. It's spreading. I think it's using us, our signals, our frequencies, our machines. Every sonar, every sub, every radio ping, feeding its construction. It doesn't need tools anymore. It has us. I used to think we were the explorers, the observers of the unknown. But maybe we've been the blueprints all along, the templates, for something that was never meant to stop growing. And when it finishes, When whatever is under the ocean completes itself, I don't think it'll stay there. The sounds are louder every night. The hammering's no longer in my dreams. It's in my walls, in my heartbeat, in the spaces between silence. The ocean isn't a mystery. It's a mouth, and it's opening wider. Deep, distorted static fades. Slow heartbeat echoes in the distance. Faint sound of metal clanking underwater. If you made it this far, you've already heard it too. Don't go near the water tonight. Don't listen for the sound, because once you notice the rhythm, it notices you back. And if you're brave or foolish enough to keep listening, follow the next signal. That's where my next story begins. It's not under the ocean this time. It's beneath the ice. And what's building there makes this sound like a lullaby.